Revolution in Iran. A revolution that swept away...
Since the Islamic Revolution in 1979, Iran has built a network of proxy groups across the Middle East to advance its interests and combat Saudi Arabian, Israeli, and U.S. influence. These groups include Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon and Syria, militias in Iraq's Popular Mobilization Forces, and the Houthis in Yemen. For years, these groups have operated independently, but with funding and training provided by Iran. That allows Tehran to advance its interests without being directly implicated in the group's activities. But the Israel-Gaza war has emboldened these groups, experts say, and encouraged them to act with more autonomy, testing Iran's control over its sprawling proxy network.
The concern is that Iran is going to be in a position maybe then not to be able to sort of draw red lines anymore, because these groups are operating policies independent of Iran. I think that is a concern. The Iranian regime is actually worried that the future evolution of these groups is going to be sort of more independence from Iran.
Iran's proxy groups range in size and sophistication. Some have their own political parties. Others are purely armed militias. The Houthis, who control northern Yemen, have launched at least 48 attacks in and around the Red Sea since November, according to U.S. defense officials. These attacks have slowed global trade as major shipping companies try to avoid this waterway. In Iraq and Syria, militia groups have targeted the U.S. military in more than 150 attacks. And in Lebanon, Hezbollah has launched near-daily strikes across Israel's northern border.
These groups are not just non-state actors on the fringes or on the peripheries. They are very much deeply entrenched into the states in the countries where they control territory. They have parliamentarians, they have local officials, they have civil servants across the states. Because of their strong alliance with Iran, this allows Iran to have multiple avenues of having influence across these countries.
These groups are seen not only as a deterrence to attacks on Iran from, say, Israel or the United States, but they're also seen as Iran's forward line of defense across the region. And if you look at a map, it makes a lot of sense. Those are places also where there's a lot of U.S. military presence. So from Iran's perspective, having these groups in those countries is a buffer.
This network of proxy groups was held together for years by Iranian military commander Qasem Soleimani. When Soleimani was killed in a U.S. strike in Baghdad in January of 2020, Washington hoped it would weaken this network. But 4 years on, more groups are cropping up and operating with increased autonomy.
When you have the outbreak of Israel's war on Gaza, what you see are these groups trying to use that to instrumentalize the Palestinian cause with an eye to then recovering some of that legitimacy and making the case that, okay, maybe domestically things aren't great right now, but this is the wider battle, this is the wider struggle that we are leading, and therefore we need your support.
By February, attacks by the proxy groups continued. The Houthis struck a cargo ship that left an 18-mile-long trail of oil in the Red Sea. And to counter continued Hezbollah attacks, Israel in late February launched its deepest attack into Lebanon since the war began. U.S. officials have pressed for a temporary ceasefire in Gaza to quell the ongoing violence before it erupts into a wider regional war.
The U.S. has been very good at bombing and striking in the Middle East and in these areas, but the coherence of a strategy to actually achieve its ultimate objective has been more difficult because the solution to many of these groups isn't only militarily striking them or even sanctioning them,